how do you deal with, or what did it feel like when the emotional like bomb dropped? And you're like, wow, I didn't do, I screwed up on that one, or at least you felt like you screwed up on that one based on your definition, and
Yeah.
uh, and how did you deal with that?
It was tough. It didn't knock me out. It it didn't. At the end of the day, I had to learn that certain things were out of my control, and I can only do what I can do. But again, I didn't have the benefit of experience to know that. I still new in the business. I still had a lot to learn in that year as far as business sense goes and personal maturity. I just I, I remember a constant doubt, kind of the self-limiting dialogue going on, saying, "Wow, if you can't take care of these people the way you want to take care of them, you'll never be able to take care of a client the way you really want to take care of a client. Maybe you shouldn't be doing this." And that was the kind of attack that just kept hammering away at me. And it took a lot of time and experience and success to kind of get past that, and to realize that yes, some things went wrong in this transaction, but at the end of the day, I just can't control that. I've done everything I possibly can do, and if I continue to let it pollute my self view, if I let it get me down, if I let it affect my identity, it's going to rob me of the energy that I can take and pour into other clients. So I had to get over it, as quick as possible, so that I can move on and not sabotage myself in my future transactions with other clients.
That's interesting. So you even used other successes as a combatant for that,
Mm.
even like almost like proving it to yourself,
Right,
that you could take care of a client,
right.
um, and that's it's always, everyone has their own mechanisms to deal with it, because the the fear of failure, or and I mean, all the fears and doubts that are associated with failure in an entrepreneur
Yeah.
are, I mean, so mental and so emotional
Hmm.
that it's really important to to lock in on those mechanisms
Yeah.
to combat them.
I
Um,
call it building altars. If you look at an example from the Old Testament of the Bible, you would constantly see these stories and these historical accounts of people where God would show up for them, and he would do something amazing, a miracle would happen, or or anything like that. Whenever that happened, they would build an altar to him. An altar could be as simple as a pile of rocks, and they would give it a name. And these altars existed in places where they walked by constantly, places where they lived, places where they ate and slept. They would see them all the time, and these were constant reminders of God's faithfulness. Now, for me in my life, I have to build altars. When I have a good transaction, I want to remember it, and I want to put the mechanism in place to where I can remember it. When I have my good days, my high days, when things go right, I want to remember it, and I want to be able to look back at that day when I'm struggling, when I'm in a pit, when I'm just when I need encouragement. I want to look back to those days and be reminded that yes, you are good enough. Yes, your business matters. Yes, you're accomplishing what you want to accomplish. Now, now get up and move forward. And I found that to be incredibly effective to get me through my own funk periods.
Yeah. Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. Like, what are some of the other mechanisms that you use, like realistically, as you, and not with these past stories, but like as you just day to day are pursuing something as a new direction, and just
Mhm.
kind of that ongoing fear of failure. Really hone in on that, because it's such a big thing that I want communicate to the people watching how
Mhm.
they can kind of tackle that as they are striving to do something new, which is so difficult. Oftentimes,
Yeah.
they find themselves alone a lot of times.
For me, my biggest thing is identity, knowing exactly who I am and why I'm here. Now, my faith defines me, and it defines my life, and it defines my actions. I believe in Jesus Christ with all my heart, and I am who he says I am. So my identity is not contingent on my activity. Now, I understand not everybody shares that faith, but really where the power comes in is making that decision, making that distinction of this is who I am, this is what I stand for. Because the who and the why are going to inform every decision you make. They're going to inform the business that you try to build. If you're building a business that is a natural outpouring of who you are and what you want to change in the world, then you are going to make that business succeed. Now, success might not always look like what you want it to look like, but you will move forward in that pursuit and it will be successful. And if you concentrate on who you are in that time and what you're pursuing inside of yourself, the actions that necessitate that success, they're going to be a natural outpouring of you. And you may fail in things that you thought were important that aren't, and they may completely knock you off your boat. They may shift you in a new path in your business or your life, but that was necessary because it was kind of the calling. It was the refining of you and your mission and what you're trying to accomplish. I go back to that first year I was in business. I failed in a lot of ways where I thought I should succeed, but looking at on the front end, those failures shaped me into the person that I am today and the person that I wanted to be. So those failures ultimately turned out to be successes in kind of a semantic play kind of way. They helped me become, they helped me learn, they helped me get where I'm going, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. So I failed. I didn't become who I thought I should be, but I became who I actually should be and who I want to be. So as far as fearing failure goes, I don't fear failure anymore. In a lot of ways, I welcome it because it's going to force me to grow.
Yeah, that's good. And so we're really trying to communicate that it's not. It's funny that you use the word semantic because I'm starting to process like what that means in respects of this more and more because
Yeah.
this is really all semantics in a sense, but we really want to turn it into something that's not semantic
Hmm.
because uh, you really have to get to a point, or for you to successfully deal with failure, it's almost like it has to like be wiped from the map. Like you don't even call it that anymore.
Right.
And it is what I'm seeing from all these interviews is that you have to make that switch in the fine lines in the gray area there that says, I mean, yeah, okay, you know, whoops, whatever. That wasn't the right thing, kind of a thing.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. Next.
yeah, exactly. Next, move on. Like throw that one in the trash bin after you've kind of like figured out everything you can about it. Gleaned all the knowledge you can. Throw that in the trash bin. Go on to the next thing. And then
Mhm.
the really trick in that though, and it's so difficult. And it doesn't matter how hard you can flip that switch, that nuance switch. Is that moving forward? In the back of your mind, always being like, you're going to get another one wrong, kind of a thing. That's not going to be
Yeah.
the last thing to get wrong. So really having to put that, like, throw that way out in front of your mind of
Mhm.
saying uh, that it's not a big deal if there's another one. Yes, of
Right.
course there's going to be another one, but it's not a big deal because I'll just learn from that, move on to and then keep moving, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
So and never giving up.